Say, man, you see my crab cakes? Till I'm all alone. If you see my crab cakes, tell her things went wrong. Don't call on the phone and bring a black draw home. I got some Louisiana hot sauce, a little tartar too. Come on, little girl, tell me what you want to do. Them Maryland crab cakes are the best in town. Them Maryland crab cakes are the best in town. So come on, baby, let's get Louisiana down. If you see my crab cake, have you seen my crab cake? If you see my crab cake, tell I'm all alone. Tell her I still love her, and when she come back home.
Time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, I hope you're doing all right. Busy show schedule for today. But first, the show is being brought to you in part by Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service. You're looking for a limousine? And if you're located someplace in the United States or even Canada, and you want a really hot driver driving you around, then you need to call Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service. Give her a call today, 202-351-7496. That's 202-351-7496. Cat Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service. Tell her Billy C. sent you. But just remember, she's my girl. The show is also being brought to you in part by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Campanaro and Tomkovich. 845-221-4099. Let Campanaro and Tomkovich knock out your legal problem. 845-221-4099. The show's also being brought to you in part by my friends down at the Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls. If you like cool people, if you like drink specials, if you like live entertainment on Friday and Saturday nights, and if you like fantastic food, then you'll love the Halftime Bar and Grill. Call ahead if you want for a reservation or just to find out if Craig is cooking for the Billy C. Hot Sauce. 518-792-4869 is the number. 518-792-4869. Check it out. Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls, New York. And the show's also being brought to you in part by Ringside.com. That's right, Ringside.com. For all your boxing equipment needs, make sure you go to one place. That's Ringside.com. They got specials going on all the time. When you place your order, make sure you mention Billy C. Tell them that you want the Billy C. discount. If you don't tell them, you're not going to get it. They're not going to give you a discount just for calling. You got to tell them Billy C. sent you. And again, for all the people out there that buy boxing equipment in bulk, whether you're a trainer, whether you're a gym owner, whether you just like to buy a lot of stuff at once, give me an email. Drop me an email, Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and I will help you get even a bigger and a better discount at Ringside.com. Scheduled to join us in a little bit is the man, the myth, the legend himself. That's right, Marty Mulcahy. We'll be talking about, there was one fight to talk about, and it irks me that people are still actually saying what a controversy that the Bartholomew Usmani fight was. I don't have a problem with either fighter winning or it even coming out it's a draw. I just don't think that it's a controversy. I think that it was close, and it could have gone either way, and I don't think anybody could have really argued, but I think all of this controversy talk stems from the broadcast and Teddy Atlas flipping out. As far as I'm concerned, Bartholomew won the first half of the fight, and Usmani won the second half. And the only thing I'll stick up for Usmani is that, you could argue that was a 10-8 round, that last round, round 12. I mean, I don't, keep punch stats or anything, but Bartholomew, how many punches could he have possibly landed? How many did he throw in that last round? And Usmani was throwing a good old-fashioned you-know-what on him, So, anyway, we'll talk to Marty about that. We'll talk to Marty about the fights this weekend, and I want to welcome a couple of new challengers in the Billy C. Challenge. We'll get to that a little later when I break down the fights. We got some news going on about the correct guy who shoots off his mouth against the United States. And I was wrong. That's right. I'm not afraid to admit it. I was wrong earlier in the week when I thought that Daniel Geale was the guy, but I confuse him with Anthony Mundine. Mundine is the slime ball that we will not support in any way, shape, or form. And the only reason why I'm bringing him up today is because it's more reason to, discredit the guy, or just think negatively of him, however you want to look at it. But we got that to talk about. We got a pretty decent heavyweight matchup, at least on paper. We got another heavyweight prize fighter tournament, which I'm looking forward to. A story about a female fighter that is almost unbelievable, and what's even worse is part of the outcome. But then you got the good part of the outcome. There's a good part and a bad part, and that's coming up a little bit later on the show. I want to start off one thing right now. The emails. Yeah, we got the mailbag. Robert THZ 477 says, "Hey Billy, what happened to the old intro song, Crab Cakes?" Well, we happen to have glanced. I happen to have glanced over, saw this question, and played it for you today, Robert. We played the intro for you today, Crab Cakes. Now, I tell you why I kind of stopped playing that, and I'll be totally honest. It has nothing to do with Memphis Gold, who's the author and the artist of that song. There's many songs that I guess were called Crab Cakes, which I don't know. I'm not up on the music business or anything, but every time that song is played on our show, And as you know, this show, not only are we on Fight Now TV, LDL TV, and all the radio stations, we're still on 36. We used to be on as much as 40, but we're on 36 stations around the U.S. and Canada. We have 3 now up in Canada. We used to have 4 in Canada, but we only have 3 now. They get versions of the show, and some of them play them daily. Some take all the shows for a week and air a weekend version of it, anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. Anyway, what does all mean is that there's other songs called Crab Cakes, and every time you put this on certain things, even like our YouTube channel, that song gets flagged. And then I have to go back and manually explain who the artist is, where they can get the information, and then they release the claim. And, it's just such a hassle. It became such a hassle for me that I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. I just didn't want to go through it. But today, for my man Robert, 4778, I played it. Okay, so I'm going to do a little extra work for you. Hey, hold that thought. I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I get a couple of more emails to read. We got the news we were talking about. We got Marty Mulcahy on tap. All that stuff in about 2.
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Riselli Enterprises. Riselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flow boys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Riselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RiselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the ideal computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at iboboxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C. dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching the replay on LDL TV. Glad you could join us. Speaking of LDL TV, I hope you caught the latest episode of Billy C's Changed My Mind, which aired last night on LDL TV, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time is when you can catch that on Thursday nights on LDL TV. Now, if you don't get LDL TV in the South Florida area, you can check it out on the stream, LDLTV.com. And it was another good one. Alex and I were talking about, whether we should focus on only the diehard boxing fans to keep boxing on the rise. I think not. And to be honest with you, it was a great segment. The only problem is we kept drifting off. He didn't as much as Alex is a great, he's a great arguer. I love to argue with him, but we started drifting off into other stuff. So I don't know if we need to revisit that question or what, but he needed to try to change my mind about not needing or not feeling that there was any importance in the casual boxing fan, and I don't know, I just didn't feel he said enough, but we had fun doing it, and believe me, you haven't heard the last of Alex Papali, so hopefully you checked it out, and the bottom line is if you want to check out if you missed it, you can check out the replay. I'm going to have the link up pretty soon. It's under a section on the website, www.billycboxing.com, called CMM, Billy C's CMM. It stands for Change My Mind. We're going to eventually move that over to the other side so you can actually see that. But anyway, Jesse Viv says, why, and this is about something about Mike Tyson. This was a YouTube request, a YouTube message. He says, the title of it was called "Why Mike Tyson Bit Evander Holyfield," and Jesse Viv says, "Cause Evander kept headbutting him." I'm laughing because that's witty, and the reason why he said that, in case you don't get it, is that's what Mike said. That's what Mike said at the end. I just saw it. That's why I'm laughing, because I just watched the fight. I just watched the replay, and not a couple of days ago, and that was his reasons. He's going, he kept headbutting me, man. I had to do something. I had to save my life. Save your life. So he chewed off a piece of his ear. Bobby says, I agree. If you're caught or admit to using steroids, you should be banned for life. The only problem is there should be exception for guys who might not have actually been using it for an advantage, like, let's say, Berto and Peterson. I don't think these two guys were using steroids for an unfair advantage. Berto was coming off a major surgery, if I believe, so it's convincible that his doctor's drugs registered as steroids, and Peterson had a medical condition and had no problem admitting to that. I don't know, man. Check out the stats on that. Check out the facts on that, I should say. I'm sorry. I don't know. I think one of my points, if you go back, Bobby, and listen to some of the shows, one of my points about the steroids, especially since these guys got popped, these guys got busted for it. My point is you can only say, I didn't know about it. I don't know. You can only say that so many times. Now that they have it, basically defined, hey, you're responsible for this. Here's the rules we're following. Go check them out. There's the list of banned substances. I mean, it's been defined now. Now from this point forward. So, Duberto and Lamont Peterson and Antonio Tarver and Enzio Macronelli. I mean, those are the major names that had gotten basically tested positive. I think from this point forward, I mean, you can only say, I didn't know, so many times, and, I just, I don't know, man, at this stage of the game, I think it's been publicized enough. I think enough people know about it, and that's the end of that. He says, my questions to you are this. Number one, do you think Berto and Peterson were using steroids wrongfully? He says, knowingly. Berto and... He's saying wrongfully and knowingly with Berto, and should they have been banned for life too? I can't answer that question. I can't answer the question of if they were using them knowingly. That I don't know. There's a lot of pressure on fighters to win, and if somebody's telling them they have that they could give them an advantage and it's safe and nobody will know and all of this stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think if he came out and admitted that he did it knowingly, that's a different story. He was able to say, I didn't know, I didn't understand. I bought a vitamin supplement, whatever. But now it's over. He's got his pass. He was able to fight again. So no, I think in this case they're the beginning stages. We didn't have it defined. We didn't know enough. I say we, the boxing community. So they get the pass. They get the pass, at least in my opinion. But from this day forward, I mean, it's tough. He says, and number two, and what do we do about the Hall of Fame like baseball did with guys like Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa? They weren't admitted because of suspected use. Should boxing implement this and maybe kick guys out or not let guys in because of this as well? I think that's a good idea to follow. Anybody that admits using steroids, in my opinion, should not. I think that their record should be scratched during that time because they were cheating. And if they admit using it and knowingly using it, then they were knowing that they were cheating. And cheating in sports is the worst, So, how do you prove that somebody knew? The way the precautions they took at this point is they defined it. Okay, hey, you're responsible for what's being put in your body. I don't care that you're paying buku dollars to Joe Schmo to give you all the vitamins that you're going to take every day and this and that and the other thing. You're responsible for it. That's the rule. So, if you're going to fight and you're paying Joe Schmo to monitor what you eat and put in your body, then you better make sure he gives you a list of everything and the proof that it's not on a banned substance list before you take it. That's a responsibility of a fighter, of any athlete, from this day forward. Maybe it's different in other sports because they test it. They test for specifics. And that's the difficulty of this from my knowledge base, which isn't that much on PEDs. But, from what I understand, they, as quickly as they detect a steroid, a variation of a steroid, and they put it on that list, somebody's got another one that is not detected. And so, I mean, that's the battle that you have with there. As far as Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. Gambling, as long as he wasn't gambling on his own team to lose and then, not make that pitching change when he was a coach and, put the worst guy at bat, to pinch hit or something like that. I don't see the issue with Pete Rose, but Barry Bonds, yeah, maybe. Sammy Sosa, yeah, maybe. Mark McGwire, yeah, maybe. But as far as boxing, I think that we got the guys, the first major names, they got popped. I think we need to make it. I agree with the cry about making it, mandatory that we test for steroids and all that stuff. So, anyway, Abstract Logic says when the F is to talk about in this video going to be about using steroids. I've been searching for 10 minutes now. Abstract Logic is a YouTube guy, and he also made another comment about a title that gets, now these titles get put on. They get put on the YouTube, all right? Here's the message to the YouTubers. The message is simple. It's a simple message. Read before you play. The fact is, it's a show, man. This is a replay of a TV and radio show. So if you're watching this right now on YouTube, if you're watching a replay of it, first of all, you're watching a version of it that's not the same version that's on television. They have a whole different camera system and everything else. So that's first of all. Second of all, you may not be getting everything on the YouTube. Only our premium podcasters get everything. But the most important thing for all the YouTubers is you got to make sure that you understand that this is a 2-hour show, man. So if you're looking for a specific topic or whatever, fast forward. There's a little bar right here. See the bar right here? Just fast forward, man. So hey, do we want you to listen to the whole show? Yeah, maybe you'll like it. Maybe you become a regular listener like Abstract Logic. So anyway, I appreciate you taking the time to comment. That's very important to us, for sure. There's no question about that. A shout out to Perez Boxing. There was a message for us. He says, "Hey Billy C, just checking to see if you were able to do anything regarding Angel or my pro fighter fighting next week in Arizona." Listen, the best thing to do is email me for anything like that. As far as fights in Arizona or anything, I don't know about the fight. If it's a fight that's being put on and being web broadcast through the web on a 3-letter site, then I have no comment. I won't promote it. I won't talk about it. I think it's a travesty what that site does. So if that's it, please drop me an email and I'll be glad to help you as best I can. Chatty Factory's in the chat room. He said, I don't understand why these fighters just don't try and raise their testosterone levels naturally. If you keep your thyroid healthy, it's like you're on steroids. Man, you know what? The pressure on professional athletes today is astronomical. So, I can't. I don't know what to say. I'm actually lost for words. Hawk has got a couple of comments here. He says, great show, Billy C. David Hay can piss off and go away. I never liked that blabbermouth hype job anyway. I think he was a media hype paper champion. He should retire and go make some gay porn videos or whatever he likes to do. But he's not a true champion. He has stolen enough money from the sport of boxing. Too often hype jobs are overpaid and real fighters are underpaid. I don't care to see David Hay fight again. He's too greedy and he ducks too many fights. I agree with you mostly. He is a hype job, and here's the thing. Kieran, my man from England, who's part of the show, sent me some stuff. He says, yeah, you guys don't like him, but the people here in England, they'll still pay to see this guy. So, he pulled the wool over their eyes, But I agree with you, Hawk. I mean, this guy, never. And I think the main thing that he sees here is he gets overpaid and the real fighters get underpaid. That's the part that bothers me the most, and I think Hawk hit it right on the head. And by the way, when I couldn't think of who sent me the link yesterday, it was this guy. It was Hawk. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. I got some emails to read when we come back, but first we're going to take a break and deal with my main man, Marty Mulcahy. That's all coming up in about 2.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio. He would scoff at the stretch of that man, I would
think. You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. from upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell him Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C, the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. That's what I do.
Bill.
Wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting?
Yeah,
Wait, what?
Wrong.
What's the
wrong,
problem?
Billy,
What?
C.
I did not have...
We're gonna have to ask you
wrong
to
speech.
leave.
What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C. show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us. For all information about the channel, you can find it on their website, www.fightnow.com. And speaking of now, joining us all the way from the ski capital of the world, Colorado, my main man, Marty Mulcahy. What's up, brother?
A little bit flat down here, but you go uphill once you see the mountain.
What's that? It's a little flat?
It's a little bit flat out here, yeah. We're right at the base of the mountain, so, it takes work to get up there in order to get back down to the snow level.
Don't they have one of those things that kind of drive you up there? Can't you like get driven up there and then just ski down? Isn't that the idea?
Real men walk up mountains.
Come on, yeah, real men. How about old guys like me? What do we get to? Don't we get to drive up? I mean, come on, man.
Stay down in the lodge and have your scotch and look at the girls with the caps on your leg.
That's exactly my idea of skiing. Hanging out at the lodge,
Might as
man.
well, just because you're in a ski area doesn't mean you're a skier.
That's exactly right. They didn't call me Billy Chapstick for nothing, man. I could get down a ski slope without falling. It's just that I go from one side to the other side. I'm not
you
exactly
look like the guy on a chapstick can, right? With the beard and his cap.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, a lot of talk about the fight from Friday Night Fights last week. Rancis Barthélemy against Arash Usmani. And to be honest with you, Marty, I'm a guy. It's like the Tomaz Adamek fight and with Steve Cunningham. I feel that they were close, entertaining fights. I mean, Barthélemy Usmani, in my opinion, was a close fight. I would have accepted Barthélemy winning. I would have accepted Usmani winning. I would have accepted it being a draw. I don't think it was controversial because it was close. I felt that Barthélemy won the first half and Usmani won the second half. And now it seems to be all over the boxing press and coming out of so-called experts' lips that it was a controversy with the judging and everything else. What's your thoughts, man?
I think one of the judges' scores is controversial. That where he had all but 2 rounds going to Barthélemy. That's controversial. Other than that, it really was a close fight where you can make arguments for either fighter winning or the draw. Yeah, I would have preferred the draw in the end because, as you said, it was the story of 2 fights. First half was all Barthélemy. Second half was Usmani. Now, the thing that I think might get overlooked in this is judges are just like any other human being. They make a lot of judgments on first impression, and the first 2 rounds were clearly Barthélemy. So they look at that. They see the first 2 rounds going to Barthélemy. Third round, Usmani gets better, but you don't give him the benefit of the doubt because Barthélemy was dominated the first 2 rounds. Fourth round, Usmani puts even more pressure on, probably wins that round, but the judges probably still playing off the first 2 rounds. In the 5th round, they know Usmani is taking over, so now they start giving him rounds, and by that time, you're down 4 rounds to 0, and to catch back up is so difficult to do on the scorecards because judges begin to question themselves as well. If they start giving 6 rounds in a row to one fighter, I think sometimes mentally they look for a close round to get to the other fighter, so they give him one of the close rounds in the end to Barthélemy, and you have a draw card right away after, you give the first 4 to Barthélemy, give him 1 more, you have a draw. So arguments can be made in both directions, and let's face it, it was in Barthélemy's backyard, so they've seen him fight more probably. So once you've seen a fighter, you appreciate him more. You look at him more. So I think their eyes were drawn more to Barthélemy, and he ended up getting, all the intangibles lined up for Barthélemy, and that's the way they fell. So I think in the end, I don't think the 6 was in. This is the ESPN level fight. There's not enough money involved. No judge is going to take a chance on a fight like this, payoff or anything like that. It's just that judges are just as fallible as any other human. And like I said, in a close fight, I could see it. All but one card was justifiable on that fight.
Well, actually, you may be confusing it with the Gonzalez card because the scores were two judges had it the same at 116, 112, and one judge had it 115, 113. I didn't score the fight, but I think it probably would have been around the 115, 113, or even 114, 114.
I thought 2 rounds in either direction is the way it should have went.
Yeah, well, I agree with what you said, and I think too many judges do that. I think that, you're looking at a fight, especially like this one, where it's a tale of two fights within one. You're getting a guy that's dominating the first 5-6 rounds, and, as a judge, you see all of a sudden there's a close round, and you're looking for reasons to give it to the other guy, and then does that mindset kick in during the second half of the fight when it's going the other way, So, I think that judges need to just focus on the round, score it, and move on to the next round. But I also want to ask you about that fight that I'm referring to now with the weird score, and that was the Gonzalez against the Derek Puinis fight. One judge had it even, one had it 97-93, one had it almost a shutout, 98-92. I picked Gonzalez just like you. But I'm not impressed with this guy, Marty. I don't see him getting any better than where he's at as a contender. I can't see him really winning a title. He has no hand speed. He's I question his discipline and all of that.
Yeah, it comes down to being lazy, not only in training but during the fight. He settles for what is given to him in a fight. If his opponent lets him out-jab him all night, he'll out-jab him all night. If the opponent doesn't like to get roughed up on the inside, he'll go inside and rough him up. He has options. He's a good boxer. He doesn't press. He doesn't go for the knockout. The killer instinct is not there with him. And I think mentally he's just too willing to settle for the easy win instead of going out there, working a little bit harder, getting the stoppage, and kind of forcing a title fight. This guy is never going to force a title fight because all of his wins, while he keeps winning, are not impressive, and they shouldn't be impressive to TV executives either. So why should they have him back on TV to have him come in 10 pounds overweight for a fight, or come into a fight and not give 100%, and then make excuses after the fight? I don't want to see this guy back on TV, and it's kind of a shame because in spots, in instances, you can see that he's an intelligent boxer, but he just doesn't get it done on the excitement front. It's a bit like Lennox Lewis, where he settled for some wins where you thought if he pushed it.
Yeah, we just lost you, Marty. And if you can give me a shout back, that would be great. That was an abrupt loss of Marty, and hopefully we'll be able to get him back without having to reset this whole soup can that we have. But and we'll find that out here in a second. And we and you're back.
Well, it's good to be back. Unlike Jonathan Gonzalez on TV, I hope. Let's just put it that way.
Hey, I tell you the truth. In that fight, I thought Derek Puinis did a pretty good job, and they were talking about, he came in overweight, this and that. It wasn't like he was a fat overweight. He might have come in overweight for a reason, and he certainly wasn't, not fighting. He didn't run out of gas. He's a weird one to keep to put a tab on, really, with Enos. You never know what the deal is with him.
Yeah, I think he might have a bit of a, you don't want to say sparring partner syndrome, but he's just not ready for that next level. He lacks, I think, the hand speed is what it is, and a bit like Jonathan Gonzalez is mentally you question whether he, you can tell championship level boxers mentally. They just they break their opponents down, and like I said, they don't settle for what's given to them. They go out there, they make holes, they create holes by their movement, by their speed, by their power. Derek Ennis and Jonathan Gonzalez are two guys that were willing to settle, and you saw in this fight that they were willing to settle for what was given to them, and that will never make for an exciting fight on TV. It's like I hate to say the soccer, but two soccer teams settling for a draw. This is a soccer match on the canvas.
No doubt. And the fight that opened up the broadcast, really got everybody on the edge of your seat, and it was kind of unfortunate for ESPN that that one was so exciting, and then the other two fights, went the distance. But
there's nothing in comparison to it.
Oh man, that Harry and Sokarakis, that knockout over Josh Bowles was unbelievable, huh?
Yeah, and it's the thing where you see that, and ESPN hasn't been on for 3-4 months now, so that's the first show back. That guy's sticking in my mind, and the next time he fights, I'm going to try and pay attention to it.
Yeah. Well, remember they did have that one fight. It was like on a, there's a Friday night fight, like on a Saturday.
Like that, yeah.
It was a Friday night fight on a Wednesday. I don't know, but this weekend we got a couple of good ones. A couple of tough ones to pick. I think the hardest one and the most evenly matched fight, at least in my opinion, is the Ronnie Rios against Rico Ramos fight. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, we agree on that as far as that being the toughest fight. I don't know. I'm going with Rico Ramos in this fight. In every career, there's a level of progression that takes place. I think Ronnie Rios is just skipping over several steps. Usually you go from a tough man to a slugger to a mover to a faded former champion, and then a gatekeeper type, and then you move on to a title challenger. And I mean to a title holder, and I think with Ronnie Rios, they're skipping over a lot of those steps. That they haven't really fought a former champion yet. They haven't fought a real big slugger, and I think the best opponent is Roger Gonzalez, who was his nickname was Speedy, and they fought him at age like 30.
We lost you again, Marty. If you can give me a shout back, Marty, that would be great. Yes, you lose your name Speedy after you lose your speed when you get old, and that Gonzalez that Marty's talking about was a really good fighter in his younger days. That is a big name on his resume, but I agree with Marty 100% on that one for sure. There's excuse me, a couple other good fights that I wanted to ask Marty about that are on slated for TV and then around. There was also another fight that I did not put on our challenge. Now, when I talk to Marty, I pretty much am asking him about the fights that we have on the Billy C Challenge, and those are the ones that we kind of focus on because they seem to be one of the most common, or I try to pick the most common fights that you'll be able to see. Whether they're here in the States or in Europe or in Canada or whatever. So I try to pick the fights that are most available. We lost you again, so I apologize for that. But I agree with you on the Ronnie Rios road, that's for sure.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know at what point I dropped off, but once I get on the wall, I keep talking. I don't care if anybody's on the other end or not. Yeah, I just don't. There's a little progression, and there's too many steps being missed there. He's taken, I think, one too many steps up. And, while Ronnie Rios is thinking about his next move, I think Ramos is going to be that one step ahead of him. He's going to beat him to the spot, beat him to the punch. And that world championship level that Ramos has experienced already, that just puts you leaps and bounds ahead of a prospect like Ronnie Rios. I really question the decision-making of Ronnie Rios as a manager and promoter here. I just don't see it.
Another good one is on Fox Sports Network and Fox Deportes, Johan Perez against Stevie Forbes. Stevie's clearly not the same fighter that we remember when he was a couple of weight classes smaller. He's become a gatekeeper, and he just, it seems like he can't be making the big money because he's a gatekeeper on these small money type shows, and this is a guy that's just not accepting the fact that it's over for him. And I kind of wonder why. Now, Johan Perez is a beatable fighter for Forbes, but I'm not so sure it's going to happen this weekend. What do you think?
Well, the level of progression I was talking about with Ronnie Rios, Johan Perez has taken that level of progression. Because Stevie Forbes is the kind of former champion you want to face. He's going to give you the rounds because he's got the chin. So you're going to get experience. He's tricky, but he's slow. So the proverbial, he can't pull the trigger anymore. So you can see all the punches coming from Stevie Forbes, and if you're young enough and fast enough and have the reflexes, you're going to react to him. You're going to beat his offensive move and counter him, and that's what I expect Perez to do to the whole fight is to counter him. And he's so tall. I don't think that that Stevie Forbes is going to be able to get to him just on that basis alone. He's nearly 6 foot. And I think in his last fight he fought Pablo Cano, who just gave Paulie Malignaggi a really tough fight. Many people think that Cano beat Malignaggi. He also gave Eric Morales, a life and death fight. So Perez has been in with good, talented fighters who prepared him for somebody like Stevie Forbes, who's more intelligent than him, but just won't be able to employ the game plan because he's simply too old. And that's what I expect. I expect Johan Perez, where I said Rico Ramos was going to be mentally ahead of Rios, I expect Johan Perez to be physically ahead of Stevie Forbes. These are the type of advantages that play out inside the ring. So everything that Stevie Forbes wants to do mentally, he can't do because Johan Perez is just too skilled physically at this point of his career.
Yeah, like you, I'm a big Cano fan. I thought he beat Paulie Malignaggi. I did. I love that kid. I love fighters that will fight anybody. And
not only fight anybody, but fight anybody while they don't really have the offensive weapons. You look at Paulie Malignaggi, the kid just does not have a punch. He just doesn't. And for a boxer, I always admire boxers who have no punch, who go in against these huge sluggers, and they have to beat them intellectually. And that's what Paulie Malignaggi does. He uses angles. He uses pity-pat punches to keep the other guy off balance. And you have to admire that in someone. Someone who goes into a fight with a knife against a guy with a gun and still comes out ahead, that's what Paulie Malignaggi is.
Yeah, but I like Cano. I thought Cano won the fight.
Yeah, I know, but look at Cano. Cano is that type of fighter. Remember, he came in over the weight as well for that fight. He really, didn't train as much as he should. In the Eric Morales fight, I really thought he could take Morales, but that was a level of progression where Eric Morales was just too smart for him. He ended up cutting him up and winning by decision that way.
Well, Cano ran out of gas in that fight. Remember, he was dancing
around. I'm talking about level progression. There's certain things in there. You can lose stamina mentally. When you're just you get so tense in there. If you're not relaxed mentally and you think you don't have an advantage, you tense up. And that was, Tommy Morrison's big thing. Whenever he went in there, he had, the power, the speed, the reflexes, but mentally he locked up. Andrew Galata, mentally he locked up. And I think with that happened a little bit with Cano, where you saw him losing control of the fight, and Eric Morales coming back. And Johan Perez gave Cano a tough fight, and that's what I'm basing a lot of this off of.
Did you get your picks in this week?
No, I'm going to do them this morning. I saw him yesterday, and I went and looked at BoxRec for a couple of the fighters because I had no idea who that French fighter you put in there was. So, So, yeah,
hey,
I'm going to put it in later on today.
I was thinking of you. There was a female fight that I was going to put on, and it's a great story, and I should have put it on, but I said, I don't want to. I just don't want the wrath of Marty Mulcahy here with the female.
You don't want to lose me this early.
Not this early. Not for the second week, But anyway, a couple other things I wanted to talk about. Did you catch the story that Don Elbaum is putting on? They're calling it the Great American Box Off, and it's going to feature 8 heavyweights, United States heavyweights. They're talking about a winner's purse of $250,000 and all that stuff. They're going to be doing the official press conference Wednesday. First of all, 2 questions. Number 1, what's your thoughts on a heavyweight box off? And number 2, where do you suppose the money's coming from?
This is what was it, back in the 90s, where they had a one-night all-heavyweight contest where they claimed the winner was going to get like $100,000.
And they had the suitcase. Remember, they had the suitcase of the money there. That was wasn't that a?
It was a one-night pay-per-view, kind of like what they're doing over in England.
Cedric Kirchner
Exactly.
did it.
Yeah. Walrus.
Yeah, and they had the suitcase full of money. They had it right there.
But nobody they saw it once, and that was it. I don't think anybody ever really got paid. And you had some halfway decent big names in there, and like a bare knuckle fighter from Poland that they said was undefeated, and all kinds of other stuff. It was a gimmicky thing. I think you have this. This is a gimmick as well. I think they're trying to copy what they're doing over in England with the one-night shows, but they're doing it over there correctly. I don't know if. I hope it happens, and I hope that the winner's purse is what they say it is, but I have my doubts. I like the format. I think it's good. I think it can work. I think the American heavyweights need to go through stuff like this because they're just not living up to the European level of heavyweights. And if this gets the name recognition out there, God love them, but I just think that once they get to it used to be Europeans had to come here to prove themselves. Now it's the exact reverse.
Yeah. Well, I like it. And to boast about a purse like that, they got to have somebody, either a huge sponsor or television rights. I mean, there's no other way. I mean, I hope it happens.
And the names. I think I heard Travis Walker, Kaufman. I don't know. I think Dominic Wynn's in there. Stuff like that. I just don't see it.
I didn't hear any names yet. I thought I heard Travis Walker as part of the next heavyweight prize fighter in England. I thought I caught his name in there, but
okay, well, maybe I'm confusing with that. I'm hoping it because I know that the next prize fighter is going to be international heavyweight again. I guess they had really good success with that, and maybe, like I said, maybe we're taking a good idea from England. It's time we need to.
Hey, listen, you know me, and I know you like it too, but I love the prize fighter tournaments.
Oh, yeah.
I love the 3 rounds. I think it changes the complexion of how a fighter approaches. There's no pussyfooting around. There's no feeling out rounds. You got to be able to, not get cut and still be aggressive. I mean, there's a lot of tangibles in the way the prize fighter's set up, and they're doing very well with that at the gate, and it's definitely a catapult for young fighters. But what's your thoughts on Andrew Golota coming back?
It's just too old. I mean, I thought we seen the last of him when Adamek dispensed of him over in Poland. He's coming back again. He's one of the great could have been. Put him in there with David Tua and what was it? The Nigerian kid that went to jail
Sam
in the 90s.
Yeah, they say he was.
Iabuchi.
Iabuchi, right? Ike Iabuchi. Ike Iabuchi.
Iabuchi or something like that.
Yeah. He lost his mind.
With those kids, he had that one fatal flaw. He had everything physically, but mentally, he just when the spotlight shone on him, he shrunk. Lennox Lewis knocked him out. He the 2 famous low blow fights against Riddick Bowe. You saw all the talent. It was all there. He had the size. He had the ability, but it just didn't have the championship level. I don't want to say intellect because you saw he could fight in the ring. It's just like I said, the bright lights got to him.
Yeah, I think he was. I don't think he was that stable in the mind factory. I think that's maybe his biggest negative. But here's the one thing I'll say about that comeback. What I don't like seeing is a guy like Andrew Golota, who's 45, making a comeback after a few years, and he steps in the ring with, a 27-year-old up-and-coming 17-0 fighter, and you know the outcome. But in this case, he's fighting another guy who's the same age as him, just about, who's had almost the same amount of layoff, and we may end up with a good fight. Like I always think of Andrew Golota in one of his first comebacks. I was ringside. He fought Mike Molo. In the at Madison Square Garden, on the undercard of Roy Jones Jr. Fought Felix Trinidad, and that was a fantastic fight. I mean, it was very entertaining because he was fighting a guy kind of at his own level. I mean, as long as they match him up like that, we may get a good, entertaining fight. It's just you wonder why he's doing it. He obviously needs some money. Plus, he had some deportation issues going on here in the States and a couple of things.
Yeah, it was a bit like you looked at the very last Muhammad Ali-Joe Frazier fight. One of the reasons it was so good was because they were older. Their reflexes were flowing. They took more punches. And you see that a lot with the older fighters. They just can't get out of the way of punches anymore. As they say, the last thing to go is the punch. You can always throw the punch, and if the other guy is as slow as you, that punch is going to land. So that's the thing right there. You're right. Usually it's kind of like, at the beginning of the end of careers, you get great fights because you have the 4-round fights where you can let it all go in the beginning of your career, and at the end of the career, you have to gut it out, and you get exciting fights again because you have to stay in there and take the punishment to beat the other guy. And Sarletta, he's got to be. I know he's in his 40s as well, so it should be a good fight. And, it's an all-Poland fight, so you got nationalism involved in that, so that always makes it fun. Just like over here in the USA, I think our American heavyweights need to start facing each other to crown one guy to go over to Europe and try and take the crown.
The path to championship title shots and everything is a joke, and it's so obvious, and a lot of the fans accept it. But hey, Marty,
Dominic Wilder, he's just knocking out nobody after nobody, and he just wants to get to 40-0 with 40 knockouts to make his record look good to go over to Europe, whereas other people, are kind of fighting their way up there. But, Dominic Wilder has that, you hate to say it, Olympic medalists get pampered a little bit, and he's getting pampered.
Yeah, well, he's starting to believe he's that good, so he's never going to get to 40-0. But I agree with you. You can't just beat the guys. But hey, one last quick question. It hasn't been officially made official, but it's pretty official, and that's Floyd Mayweather Jr. Fighting Robert Douglas Guerrero. I've been getting a lot of emails on this, and a lot of people are talking about it, and it seems evenly split. Some people, I guess, the Mayweather haters, and I'm not a big fan of Mayweather, but I actually believe that Mayweather needs to get credit for fighting Guerrero. Not that I think Guerrero is an elite fighter or anything like that, but I think that he poses a tough test. Not that Floyd needs to be tested, but I think he poses a tough fight for Floyd. The other side of the coin is that, and people either agree with that or they definitely disagree, and they say it's a cherry-picked fight, that Floyd's scared of Alvarez and everything else. I personally think that the Guerrero fight is a tougher test for Floyd at this stage, at least against Canelo. What's your thoughts, real quick?
He's taking on one of the hottest fighters in boxing. Let's put it that way. Guerrero is, Berto, that was a great fight. The fight before that was an exciting fight against the Turkish kid, Aden. I think, and you look at him, he's 28, 27, so he's in his physical prime. I think he can match him intellect-wise. He's a southpaw. That's another advantage. I think the size differential, remember, Robert Guerrero was fighting, featherweight, lightweight, as far as 2 years ago. I think he was in the lightweight. He's been really bulking up and moving up in weight to get this shot. And, a year ago, nobody thought this would have been competitive. Now that he had that really good fight with Andre Berto, showed his chin, I think competitive, but I just think it's going to be one of those fights where Mayweather wins every round close, and when you add it up in the end, he wins something like 116, 112. He wins by 4 or 5 rounds, and it's an easier fight because just defensively, he's just so good. I don't think his reflexes are gone yet. That's the thing with older fighters. I'm waiting for Floyd Mayweather's reflexes to go, and I don't think they've gone yet. And Guerrero is a guy who he opens up so much. You saw Andre Berto tagged him, Aiden tagged him. If you're an accurate fighter, you're going to be able to pick Guerrero apart, I think. And Mayweather is the very definition of accurate fighter. He does not throw a punch he doesn't think is going to land. So, yeah, I think Guerrero is going to be chasing. I think he has a chance, but I think it's a limited chance. And I think the southpaw stance is going to help a little bit. I think there could be headbutts involved in this fight. And it's one of those fights where you really have to pay attention to training camps, which guy is coming in at 100% peak condition. Because at Mayweather's age, that's, is one of those things where, when does it go away? Does it all go away at once? Did we slowly see him slipping in the last couple fights, like against the Cotto fight, and we just didn't see how much he was slipping? Because, Cotto did land a lot of punches. But Cotto is a different type of pressure fighter than Guerrero. Cotto is a little bit more intelligent than Guerrero, I think.
Yeah, Floyd will land punches. The major question is, will they affect Guerrero? I saw Andre Berto land flush punches on Guerrero that I said to myself, how is he not even going? How is he not even staggering backwards here? And I'm interested to see. I think Guerrero is willing to take a couple of shots. And one huge mistake I saw with Cotto against Mayweather was that when Cotto got him where he wanted him, against the ropes, in the corners, Cotto went headhunting. Instead, he should have went to the body like Guerrero did to Berto. And when he went headhunting to Mayweather, Mayweather's defensive, his defensive style, the way he leans his head back, all those punches were not landing flush. So all of that was Cotto using up his own energy and Mayweather actually resting. So if Guerrero follows a similar game plan and can take some of those shots, those pick shots that you mentioned, I think it's going to be an interesting fight. I personally think it's a tougher fight for Floyd than Alvarez. Alvarez, you know where he's going to be. He's going to try to position himself right in front of you, and I think Mayweather picks him apart. I don't think he stops him. I don't think anything like that. It may not even be an exciting fight, but I think Floyd picks apart Saul Alvarez at this stage.
Yeah, the one thing I give Guerrero is he's a guy, he's going to come in and win. He thinks he's going to win. Miguel Cotto, mentally, I don't know if he thought he could beat Floyd Mayweather. Victor Ortiz, I know mentally he wasn't up to the challenge. Shane Mosley, I think coming into the fight mentally, he knew his best days were behind him. Who else out there? Marquez, having to move up and weight. I think all of these fighters had doubts coming into the fight. I don't think Guerrero doubts himself in the least, and that is, they say, 75% of boxing is mental, mental preparation. I think Guerrero, out of all the opponents you could choose, I think Guerrero is the most mentally fit to take on this challenge because he was an elite amateur as well. So I think Guerrero believes that he has that chance. And physically, I got to look, but I think that you look at height and reach, I think they match up pretty well. It's just a matter of Floyd Mayweather's boxing IQ. I just think it's so much superior to everyone else's in this game that he's just a level above. And it has to be proven otherwise to me that somebody can't do it. I won't believe until I see it.
I agree. and I guess hopefully we'll see it in May. Marty?
That's the other thing. I do hope I see it before he leaves the game.
Right, exactly. Marty, listen, enjoy the fights this weekend. We're getting back into the swing, so we'll start having some fights to talk about. Good luck with the picks, and we'll look forward to you next week, my man.
Yep, everything's happening Friday night tonight, so we get the weekend off. All boxing fans, tune in, ESPN and Showtime on Friday, and like I said, Saturday, watch a couple of NFL games, I guess.
Playoffs, So yeah, we'll be watching them, but my guys are already out of it next year, so we'll have to.
No, that's all right. Your team's all about the off season and talking trash anyhow. So go Jets.
Yeah, that's the way.
Maybe they'll bring in the guy they fired from Dallas. They'll have a little brother.
Oh yeah, that's what they're talking about. But that would be talk about a circus, huh? Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, but hey, if you're not going to win off the field, win trash talking off the field, and if you can't do it on the field.
I don't know. It hasn't worked for him so far. But Marty, have a great one, bro.
You as well. Everybody have a great weekend.
All right, take care. That's the man, the myth, the legend himself, Marty Mulcahy. Hey, we're going to take a short break. When I come back, I got a couple of emails to read, and we got some boxing news. I got an interesting story. I was talking about a little bit with Marty about a female boxer. Amazing. All of that's coming up in about 2.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Beat Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh? What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C. sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. show. He's Billy C., and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C. first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Box. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show, and you're watching it on the Fight Now television channel. If you don't have Fight Now in your sports channel lineup, you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. For all the information about the channel, you can find it on their website, www.fightnow.com. Speaking of now, we're going to be talking about some emails, and I had a couple of thoughts from Hawk Mustang. I only mentioned the one about David Hay, but he's got two other ones I wanted to close out the mailbag with. He says, I think Canelo's management is smart. I think Floyd is in a cherry-picked fight versus Guerrero, but Canelo is in for a very hard fight versus Trout. I don't see Floyd fighting Trout. How about Canelo fights Guerrero and Floyd fights Trout? That won't happen. Canelo versus Trout is a high-risk, low-reward fight. I also think Floyd is using Canelo to make himself rich. Floyd used Arum and canned him. So Canelo should ask, what's in it for me? If Floyd gets the cherry pick, why not Canelo? Well, let me just say this. You know, Canelo is in a hard fight with Austin Trout. There's no question about it. And you know, it almost reminds me of when they decided to put Amir Khan in with Lamont Peterson. Now, forget about the steroid and all of that. You know, but the truth of the matter is, you know, Golden Boy had a tendency to think that, or at least it appeared to me that they thought that Lamont Peterson wasn't a tough opponent, and we also what happened. And again, you know, unfortunately that fight is tainted because of the steroid use. But in Trout's case, I mean, this is a guy that is no joke. I mean, Austin Trout is not a joke of a fighter. I mean, this is a talented fighter. He showed us a lot, at least according to my opinion, in the Miguel Cotto fight. Now, granted, you could argue with me and tell me that Miguel Cotto was not the same Cotto and blah, 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 and you would have a leg to stand on for sure. But I still think that Austin Trout demonstrated a lot of things in that fight, at least to me. Number one, he demonstrated that he can stand toe-to-toe and bang, which he did. He also showed that he's got a pretty decent jab, and that not only can he throw a decent jab that's got a little pop behind it, but he can do it as he's bouncing backwards, as he's moving in reverse, which is also pretty tough to do. It's not hard to land a punch when you're backing away, but it's hard to land a jab when you're backing away. But it's hard to land a jab with some authority as you're backing away, and I think that Austin Trout did that. And he also was punching in multi-punch with multi-punch combinations. I mean, this is a guy that was delivering more than a 1-2. You know, so I like Trout, and he's conditioned well and all of that. So I think that is a good fight for Canelo. As far as Canelo thinking that, you know, he can cherry-pick his opponents, why? Why do you say that, Hawk? I mean, Canelo really hasn't been in a really tough fight. You know, Floyd is a different... Listen, you guys know I can't stand Floyd, but we can't, you know, put Floyd in the same breath as Saul Alvarez. Saul Alvarez has not accomplished, just like I was criticized a few months back about Adrian Bronner. I wasn't suggesting that we talk about Adrian Bronner now as accomplished as Floyd is now. The argument that we were having at that time was the fact that, you know, if you looked at the first 25 fights, because Bronner only has 25 fights, and he's 23 years old or 22 years old, whatever, I felt that he was actually more accomplished after 25 fights than Floyd was. And I thought that if he continues to go the way he is going, that he will end up having a much better career as far as historically than Floyd. But that was my opinion. That's just my guess. I mean, we have to wait and see. I mean, he's got another, 8 years, 10 years out of his career. I don't know. But so the book is just being opened on Broner. But as far as Canelo, they're putting him in that spot. They're saying that he's so good and everything else. The reason why I think that he's kind of stabbing Golden Boy in the back is because Golden Boy made him what he is today. I don't care that he's popular in Mexico. if he was that popular in Mexico, he certainly wouldn't have come over here and wanted to get on all the pay-per-views and the cable networks here. He would have stayed in Mexico. You know, and why do all the fighters want to leave Mexico and come here? Because of the money. You know, so, yeah, as big as he is in Mexico, he's bigger because of the money that Golden Boy put into him. And for him to just say, hey, listen, if I can't get guaranteed a fight with Floyd in September, then I'm not going to fight here. I'm going to go to Mexico and fight. You know, I think that's a backstabbing move, in my opinion. Because, you know, the Golden Boy cannot guarantee a fight with Floyd in September. Because Floyd calls his own shots, so you're asking Golden Boy to do an impossible thing, you know. So you know, as far as Floyd fighting Trout, no, you're right. That's never going to happen. Floyd's got 2 more fights. He's going to fight Guerrero and maybe Canelo. That's it. Maybe he walks away and gives us a Pacquiao fight when they're both way past when they should have fought. Maybe, but that's it, man. Don't expect any more from Floyd. You know, all we can do is expect, you know, like I said, I've been saying it all week. I'm giving him, me personally, I'm giving Floyd credit for fighting Guerrero. If people think it's a cherry pick fight, it ain't. Floyd, you know, when you know, you sent me that link to Floyd training and you know, disrespecting his training partners and all of that, you know, which is ridiculous. And that just goes to show you what type of person he is. You know, I think that I just think that you know, that's all we got left with him. That's all we got left. I think that mentally he tries to break a fighter down. He tries to do it in sparring. He tries to do it in the real fight. He tries to do it in the press conferences. He likes to attack a fighter mentally, and then go in there and beat him physically on fight night. And I think that he's going to realize that Guerrero is a guy that he's not going to be able to beat mentally. And maybe he beats him on fight night physically. Maybe Floyd's defensive ability and hand speed and all that stuff, you know, beat Guerrero at the end of the night. But as far as mental, as far as all the fights before the fight, that's not going to win. And I would not be surprised. Now you're going to hear it here first. I would not be surprised if Floyd Mayweather, throughout this whole process, realizes at some point that this guy mentally is too strong, that, you know, Floyd's not going to win those outside of the ring battles that are important to him. He wants a fighter to be out of his game by the time that bell rings. You know, a lot of fighters try to get their opponent out of the game, but very few are as successful as Floyd is by doing that. And don't, just remember where you're hearing this first, and don't think I'm nuts, but don't be surprised if Floyd Mayweather at some point sustains some kind of an injury after the fight is announced and everything else and has to pull out of this fight. Don't be surprised if something like that happens, because if he feels he doesn't have an edge mentally over Guerrero, he's going to start questioning himself. And that would be a first for Floyd, and he won't know how to handle that. So don't be surprised. You know, I just hope that the press conferences are short and sweet, and that they go into their training and everything else. We've got a long way to go. We got 5 months. So, you know, hey. His last thought was, I also think boxing needs to stop testing for weed. Many of these boxers smoke weed. They're not aircraft pilots or choir boys. Weed is not a performance-enhancing drug. Anyway, boxing needs to only test for performance-enhancing drugs. No boxers are going to fight drunk or stoned on weed. If they do, they'll probably lose. You know, I agree with Hawk. You know, I think, you know, listen, you know, everybody's got their viewpoint on pot. You know, the bottom line is this, you know, an athlete, you know, and maybe they test for it because they feel that, you know, if you're under the influence of you know, marijuana or even alcohol, that maybe, you know, the punch doesn't hurt you as much or whatever. I don't know what the problem is, but I do know this: if a fighter decides to drink or smoke before a fight, I agree with Hawk. He's probably going to lose. You know, your reflexes become slower. That's proven. your ability to think clearly is compromised. So a fighter that smokes before they fight, and by the way, the test, they're not smoking before the fight. They're smoking a week before the fight. They're smoking 2 weeks before the fight. Pot stays in your system for a long time, so they may be testing positive for something that they did on a Friday night 2 weeks before. So I agree. I do think that the emphasis should be on something that's going to enhance their performance, whether it be something like a performance-enhancing drug or another drug that would do that. I think one of the things that I'm sure trainers don't want is one of the reasons trainers don't want their fighters to smoke marijuana during before a fight is in the corner when they come back. Most fighters get their instructions, get a sip of water and stuff. Could you imagine if these guys were on if they were high? Come back and like, you got anything to eat, man? You got any chips over there? Yeah, I'll take some water, but you got a sandwich handy? So anyway, earlier in the week I made a blunder. Yeah, I know. Everybody pointed it out, but I mistakenly and for some reason I got a couple of emails that people say they laughed at me, but then they said, hey, we make the same mistake. These two fighters have kind of been tied, and I'm talking about Daniel Geale and Anthony Mundine. Now, I mistakenly said that Daniel Geale was the guy that was saying anti-American things in the post 9/11 catastrophe that happened to us. But it was, in fact, Anthony Mundine. Now, I already corrected myself, and I thanked you guys for pointing that out. I wish somebody would have the day I said it. But the bottom line is this. We don't support, or at least I don't support Anthony Mundine in any way, shape, or form. However, I am going to mention something today because he was, they're trying to build up this fight. Now, Daniel Geale is fighting Anthony Mundine. It was a controversial fight the first time, and they're trying to have this rematch for the longest time. Apparently during, a phone call or a press conference or whatever, Mundine said another stupid thing when he made some remarks about Daniel Geale, who is actually was born in Tasmania, and he's an Aborigine heritage. He's got heritage from the Aborigines there or whatever. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but Anthony Mundine said, "I thought they wiped out all the Aborigines from Tasmania. I don't see him representing black people either." Hello, that is a very, that's a pretty bad statement. Just another stupid thing coming out of the mouth of Anthony Mundine. So if you didn't have a good reason to hate this guy before, if you're a United States person, I think this is it. Daniel Geale said Mundine went too far. I didn't even realize it because I normally just block him out when he speaks because he talks nothing but rubbish. But afterwards, when I thought about it, he definitely took this a little too far. We are going to make him pay in the ring. End of story. This fight is scheduled for January 30th. That's going to be taking place in Sydney, Australia. So we'll be looking forward to that one for sure. And you know who we'll be rooting for. I won't watch it because I don't want to give any. I don't want. The problem with Mundine is he recently fought in the United States on a pay-per-view card. So here he is cutting up the United States on 9/11 and saying we deserve the attacks and all this stuff, and yet he comes over here to make. He'll gladly take the United States coin, right? Did you catch the fight that was announced? That's going to be taking place February 23rd at the Paramount Theater in Long Island, Huntington, Long Island. It's going to be on the Sports Network. Main Events is, they got their marriage with the NBC Sports Network, and they've been doing a pretty good job. Giving us some pretty decent matchups. This one, now we just saw, I can't pronounce his first name, but I just call him V. Glazkov. We just saw him fight recently when he, made Tor Hammer quit on his stool like a girl. Really, I think Tor Hammer was acted like a total girl in that fight. I mean, he was taking a beating and stuff like that, but I can't believe fighters, unless they have an injury, quit on the stool. I just, quit out in the ring. Take a knee, something. Go out on your shield, man. You're a fighter, God darn it. Anyway, the Glasgow is coming back and fairly quickly. And he's taken on now. Remember, he's undefeated, 14-0 with 10 knockouts. I was impressed with him against Tor Hammer. He looked, he looked like I wanted to see more of him. Okay, I really didn't know much about him going into that fight. Well, he's going to be part of the main event as he faces Malik Scott. Now, Malik Scott, when you look at this guy's record, you're going to say, "Oh man, this is a good heavyweight, 35-0, baby." How come I've never heard of him before? Oh, well, you never heard of him before because he's had some issues, and I kind of like what they're talking about here. And it's pretty funny. This is an announcement, a press conference, a press release that went out about this fight. And this is the main event. They'll announce the rest of the event, the rest of the card soon, blah, blah, blah. But during the press release, as part of it, it says they're describing Malik Scott. And they said, and I quote, "Malik Scott is a tattooed terror who hails from Philadelphia. In his most recent outing last September, Scott stopped the rugged Bowie Tutupu in the 8th round of their Oakland, California bout. But despite his impressive 35-bout winning streak, Malik Scott is not yet a household name among boxing fans." Now, let me ask you a question, boys and girls. Why do you suppose nobody's heard of Malik Scott, who's a heavyweight from the United States, who's 35-0? Why do you suppose? Anyone out there? Anyone? Right, hands. You in the back. Why do you suppose? Huh? What? Yeah, no. I'll tell you why. Because he's not being promoted. These promoters don't promote. You know, how? Let me ask you a question. Even whoever wrote this press release, whatever PR person for them, how do you expect? I mean, do you expect fight fans to just glance around and highlight all the fighters that have impressive records and say, "Oh, I'm gonna learn about him"? I mean, don't you need to start the ball rolling a little bit? Don't you need to light the match to set the fire? I mean, come on, man. The reason why nobody's ever heard of Malik Scott is because he's promoted awfully. This is a guy that he has had a couple of tough fights. He's no David Rodriguez from Texas who's fought no one, and he's 33-0 or something. But I mean, listen, the only way to make fighters known is to promote them. So again, I tell you guys, you fighters out there, if you're about to sign a promotional agreement, make sure you have in writing that this promoter that you're about to sign with is actually going to promote you. It's critical, man. It's critical. I'll tell you what was critical. I was hearing the story. There's a female fighter in the lightweight division, and her name is Rola El Halabi. And she's only got 11 fights under her belt. She's 11-0 with six knockouts. And back in April of 2011, she was getting ready to go into fight for her first world title. And in the dressing room, she's gloved up. She's ready to go. And in her dressing room, she had been just recently estranged from her stepdad, who was running her boxing career, pretty much told her what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And, was dominating is an understatement. And she had realized that this was obviously an issue and that this guy was a wackadoodle, and she had gotten a restraining order from him. But he muscled his way into the dressing room and threw everybody out of the dressing room just prior to her going out to the fight, that night in April of 2011. And what takes place after everybody leaves? He locks the door, and he proceeds to shoot this woman in the hands, in the knees, and in the feet. Now, his thought process, as crazy as it sounds, is he wanted to end her career. He said that if she doesn't keep him, then she's not going to have a career, and he does this. Well, you got to know that he was obviously arrested. But what a joke! You know how many years he's doing? You know what his sentence was for doing that to his stepdaughter? I mean, listen. You have to be able to. Attempted murder has to be a charge. I mean, I don't know what they did, but 6 years is all he got. 6 years is all he got. But here's the other thing. Rola Halabi, they said she may never walk again, let alone fight. Well, I just want to tell you that not only is she walking again, she's fighting again. As a matter of fact, she's fighting this weekend. And it's her first fight back, and she's actually promoting the fight and everything else. And she's taken on a pretty tough fighter in Lucia Morelli, who's an Italian fighter, 17-3, and a former champion. So I just wanted to spread this word out, because this woman needs to be recognized, and she is fighting for the vacant WBF, the World Boxing Federation's world lightweight title. So I should have put her on the challenge this week, and I did not, and I wish I did. But what a story that is! She comes out of it back, and is not only fighting for a world title again, but she's actually promoting the fight as well. So more power to her and her fight. I hope her story becomes ends with a world championship for El Halabi. So I was just appalled when I read that story. A prize fighter international heavyweights number 3 is set for February 23rd. It's going to be broadcast on Sky Sports. And some of the names that are being mentioned, American Travis Walker, Ian Lewiston, who's from Britain, Kell Brook is his stablemate. Tom Stalker, who's his stablemate, is Kell Brook. And also former prize fighter winners, Martin Rogan and Audley Harrison, are all among the names for the tournament scheduled for February 23rd. Like we were talking about with Marty earlier, I love this series. I absolutely love it. And, this is another good one. It's going to make me watch, and I hope nothing but the best for all of that. I just happen to love the prize fighter tournament. I think it's great, and I wish we had more of them here. Now, we were talking about our Great American tournament or box off, whatever they have. We'll see. We'll see after next week about that. Hey, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I got 7 fights on the challenge that I will break down, give you my predictions, and a couple other things, too. All coming up in about, what do you think, 2 minutes?
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
I have a bunch of questions, Donnell, right? If you feel like you want to, you can answer for JD first. Why will you win? JD Chapman, why will you win?
Maybe Holmes will get sick and get hit by a train that day on the way to the fight, or he might have diarrhea, he might have the flu, he might throw up. One of his eyeballs might fall out that day, and I might get lucky.
Talking Boxing
with Billy C. If you want your voice heard on Talking Boxing with Billy C., then call our hotline at 845-228-8710. Leave a voicemail, or you could just tell Billy C. that you like his mustache.
Can I ask you your opinion about this idea?
I'm just trying to give you the encouragement.
Listen, all I need from you is to make sure you don't hang up on people.
And if we like your call, we'll play it back on the air.
You have the knowledge and wisdom of boxing because of what you do and how well you do it.
Leave your name, hometown, and what you think of the show. 845-228-8710. We want to hear you. Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
Mike Tyson looked like he put on some pounds. He was fat. He went into McDonald's and he just said to them, hey, give me 6 of everything on the menu. He put on 2 watches and covered 2 time zones. I'm talking fat here. Got on a scale the other day and it said, come on, one of you guys got to get off. Last thing I heard is that he jumped into the ocean and he left a ring around the continent. He's fat.
Boxing
with Billy C.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, Talking Boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
St. Jimmy's coming down across the alleyway.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Well, you don't have it. Loser. You got to have the Fight Now television channel. You got to call your local television provider, whether it's satellite dish or cable, and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. That's it, man. Pick up the phone and call them. Looking for some info on the channel? Visit their website, www.fightnow.com. Don't forget about Star Boxing is doing a heavyweight showdown. 2 undefeated heavyweights taking place February 2nd at the Times Union Center in Albany, New York. Joe the Future Hanks is putting his undefeated record on the line against fellow undefeated record he's undefeated heavyweight as well, Richard Carmack. And Richard Carmack and Joe Hanks are going to be the main event. And we want you to go there. Now, get yourself some tickets. You could get tickets right now by visiting the website, www.billycboxing.com, and click the fight poster, which you can't miss. It's right there on the front page, right on the right-hand side. Just click it, and it will automatically take you to the ticket outlet, the Ticketmaster outlet, at the actually, I think it's the Time Union Center outlet. So you can get tickets directly, or you can be part of something that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing an on-site Friday Night Fights trivia challenge up at the Halftime Bar and Grill. So we'll keep you posted on that. We'll be giving some tickets away and all of that happy stuff. So if you're planning on going to that fight, then we will get you some tickets. Yeah, my man Chatty Factory is dancing by himself here in the chat room, and he says he was asking me who Canelo almost got knocked out with. And he's going, it was somebody else, and I was like, who? And he said, oh, sorry, it was Jose Miguel Cotto that almost got him. So, yeah, because I was wondering the original name. I'm not going to mention it because I didn't want to start any bad things. But, David Price and Tony the Tiger Thompson, we know that they're fighting on February 23rd. But they announced a couple of the undercard fights that are going to be on that card as well. And, man, I wish I was going to Liverpool because that's where, or wherever the fight's going to be. I'm sorry, it's at the, it's in Liverpool. It's at the Echo Arena. Because this card looks pretty damn good. Kevin Satchel, who's a undefeated fighter, 9-0. He's in the flyweight division. He's actually the British flyweight champion. He's going to be putting his title against the line against only twice beaten Luke Wilton, who's 13-2-1. That seems like a pretty good matchup. As the in the junior welterweight for the second fight that they announced yesterday, Darrell Hamilton out of Bristol, who's currently the British junior welterweight champ, he's putting his belt up against Stevie Williams. Steve Williams is 13-1, and Darren Hamilton's 12-2. So again, it seems like a pretty good matchup. Both of these guys have already sold a lot of tickets and to the fight and all this stuff. Also, Mike Perez is going to be on the card. Now, we've heard a lot about him. He's an undefeated heavyweight. A lot of people put him in the same breath as Tyson Fury and David Price and everything else. So he's going to be on the card. And in case you've lost track of him, he's 18-0 right now. And a couple other fighters on the card. Sean Dodd, who's undefeated fighter, 4-0. Lewis Cuddy, he's 6-0. Neil Perkins and Stephen Lewis, they're both undefeated at 2-0. And Andy Colacune is 5-0. So some good young fighters on that card. So if you're lucky enough to be in Liverpool on February 23rd, you're going to be seeing a pretty damn good card. That's for sure. So anyway. In the challenge, in the Billy C challenge, we got 7 fights this week. 7. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the way it stands right now, I'm going to do the standings. Almost. We're gonna, it's. Hey, listen. It was the first week. We had three fights. So a lot of people are tied for first. A lot of other people are tied for second, and some other people tied for last because they didn't put in their picks. And speaking of putting in the picks, we got a couple of new people this week, so we're excited about expanding the challenge. A couple of naysayers out of there, and a couple of positive sayers in there. So We will keep those rankings up on the site, so check it out. We will try to have them. Last year, there was a couple of weeks where, we put a couple of results all at once. So I think it'll be a little easier to track this year because we're going to try to do it after every single weekend. So there'll be no discrepancies of who won, who didn't win, who had the week, who did well that week and who didn't. So anyway, the first fight that we're going to be picking is a fight that it's a WBF Intercontinental Light Heavyweight title that's going to be on the line between Tony Averlant and Monur Tumai. And Tumai's got a record of it's to my knowledge. No. Man, that was a pretty good one. Tumai has got a record of 14 wins, 5 coming by knockout. He does have double-digit losses. He's got 11. And of those 11 losses, he was stopped 6 times. He's ranked at number 141 in the light heavyweight division. He's 28 years old, 122 rounds as a pro with a 20% knockout ratio. Now, most of his losses, if you look at his record, most of his losses came within the first dozen fights or so. He seemed to have been thrown in there with some fighters that had more talent than him. I don't know what changed, but he started fighting the same guys and started winning now. So, you look at his last 5 fights, he was 4-1. So, I mean, he's definitely turned it around against some pretty decent opposition. Like I said, he's only 28 years old. Now, he steps in the ring with a guy that, was a European light heavyweight title. He challenged for it. He didn't win it, but he challenged for the European title back in March of last year when he fought Edward Gutnick. Now, we know Gutnick is a quality fighter, and it was a very close fight. A lot of people think that Tony Averlant won that fight. It was a split decision, but it was in Gutnick's backyard. Averlant's from France, and his last 5 fights were 3 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. And when he fought Arthur Hine, he too was fighting for the vacant European light heavyweight title and got a split decision draw. So it just seems that both times he fought for the Euro title, he was in the other people's backyard and lost a very close, controversial fight. Now, he did fight for the IBF's Mediterranean light heavyweight belt back in 2010 and won that. That's really the only belt and championship that Tony Averlant ever won. It may all change this week because he steps in the ring for the vacant WBF's Intercontinental light heavyweight title. Tony Averlant is 18-6. 4 of his wins coming by knockout. Of his 6 losses, only stopped 1 time, and that was early in his career against a 2-2 fighter. The fight took place in France. He's got a couple of draws. He's ranked number 27 in the world by the computer. 166 rounds at a 15% knockout ratio. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Tumai is a fighter that is a quality fighter for Averlant. I think he's a tough out, and it looks like he's kind of turned his career around. But I'm picking Tony Averlant in this one. I think he's going to come out on top. The next fight that we're picking is actually a world championship fight for the junior flyweight title that's owned by the WBC. Darasu Kabaka is 13-6. 5 of his wins coming by knockout, and he was only stopped 1 time. He's ranked by the computer at number 49 in the junior flyweight division. He's 27 years old. He's got 96 rounds as a pro with a 26% knockout ratio. When I look at this guy's record, 2 of his 6 losses came within his first 3 fights. And, those were against really similar opponents to him. Now, he has fought experienced guys, but nobody really, really good. His best win was when he won the Panamanian super flyweight title over Manuel Vidas, and he won an 8-round split decision there. He steps in the ring with the current WBC World Flyweight Champion, and that is Adrian Hernandez. Hernandez is 25 wins, 16 come by knockout. He does have 2 losses, and by the way, he was stopped both times in those 2 losses, and he does have 1 draw. The first time he was ever stopped was back in 2008 when he lost his bid. He was defending his NABF flyweight belt, and Oscar Ibarra knocked him out in 6 rounds. He did come back. He had some good wins over good fighters like Gaganin Lopez, Eric Ramirez. He beat. He also had a win over a tough guy in Gilberto Cabas, and that was actually supposed to be a title fight. Is when he won the fight, the belt, I should say, from Gilberto Cabas. He also fought and won against Gideon Buthanzi when he unified the titles. He had the IBO and the WBC, and he lost his belt in December of 2011 when he fought Kampa Yak Porpamuk, who stopped him in the 10th round for his second loss and second knockout. Now he's followed that up with a couple of wins, and he got a rematch with I can never pronounce this guy's name. Mamuk, man. But anyway, I know you're laughing at me. But he stopped poor Mamuk in the 6th round of his last fight, which took place in October, and therefore he has regained the title. This will be the first defense since regaining the title. He's got 148 rounds as a pro with a 57% knockout ratio. He's ranked number 2 in the world by the computer as a junior flyweight. 71-inch reach, 5'8". This may be the only fight that's not even close. I'm picking Adrian Hernandez. The next fight I'm picking is Randy Caballero against Luis Maldonado. Randy Caballero is 17-0, 9 knockouts. He's out of California. He's ranked number 37 in the bantamweight division. He's got 78 rounds as a pro with a 53% knockout ratio. In his last fight, he beat Rigoberto Castillas in November of last year. He also fought 3 other times in 2012. He had wins over Manuel Roman, Jamal Param, and Jose Luis Araza, all wins for 2012. And he steps in with a veteran, former world title challenger, Luis Maldonado. He's got a record of 36 wins, 27 coming by knockout, which is more than 10 more fights than Randy Caballero has. He's got 10 losses. Of those losses, he's got stopped 4 times. He does have a draw. The computer ranks him at 132, but they rank him at the flyweight level. Randy Caballero is ranked at the bantamweight level. So big difference there. Luis Maldonado is 34 years old, 67-inch reach, 5'5.5" inches tall. He's got 294 rounds of pro with a 57% knockout ratio. Hey, listen, if we were judging this fight solely on level of opposition, Luis Maldonado would have won that easily. The problem is that he's lost like 9 of his last 10 fights. Literally, he lost 3, then he had 1-1, and he lost another 5 in a row. So, he's become a gatekeeper. Randy Caballero is going to have to beat him to, keep moving up his level of opposition, and I don't think he's going to have much of a trouble with Luis Maldonado. I'm picking Randy Caballero in that one. The next fight is actually a tough one. It's between 2 light heavyweights that between the 2 of them, there's only 1 loss, and there's 19 wins. So it ought to be good, at least on paper. Jason Smith, he's once beaten. He's got a record 8 wins, 1 loss, 6 of his wins coming by knockout. He was never stopped with his loss. His only loss came in his 4th professional fight when he fought Robert Strauss, a 3-2 fighter, and he lost a 4-round decision against Mr. Strauss. He's only got 24 rounds as a pro. I don't even know how old this guy is, but he's ranked number 295 by the computer out of all the light heavyweights. That's not that good, considering his record. His level of opposition has a combined record of 15 wins 27 losses and a couple of draws. Now, granted, he's only had 9 fights, but if you look at the fighters he's fought, don't know much about him. Other than what I just said. Now, he steps in with another guy that's virtually unknown, Thomas Williams Jr. He's 11-0 with 8 knockouts. The computer ranks him at 126. He's 25 years old. He's got 1 round more than Jason Smith. He's got 25 rounds with a 73% knockout ratio. Now, you were kind of chuckling to yourself against the level of opposition, the combined record of the level of opposition for Jason Smith. Well, how about for Williams? His combined level of opposition's record is 36 wins, 64 losses, and 6 draws. Very similar in level of opposition. The bottom line is they fought nobody. I like that they're fighting each other. I throw out the records. I throw out the computer rankings. I throw out the ring. And what am I left with? I'm left with one guy from West Virginia and one guy from Maryland. I'm going with the Maryland guy because of the Crab Cake song. Yeah, I'm taking Thomas Williams in this one. The next fight that we're looking at is probably could be one of the better fights. I think that all of the main events of these next fights are all pretty good. Stevie Forbes against Johan Perez. Stevie Forbes is a former world champion. We know that. Impressive record, 35 wins, 11 knockouts. Keep that in the back of your mind. He's got 11 losses now. Only stopped once, though. And that was not in his last fight, but the fight before that when Kareem Mayfield stopped him in the 10th round. And he's now being ranked. Now, remember, this was a guy that has fought in the featherweight and super featherweight, lightweight belts, and all of this stuff. He's fought as high as the welterweight. And remember, he fought Andre Berto for Berto's welterweight title when Berto had it in 2008. So, he's been up and down in weight, but he's fighting now at junior welterweight. Now, his last couple of fights have been against good opposition. He fought Jesse Vargas, Kareem Mayfield, Jojo Dan. So, I mean, some good fighters. I mentioned Andre Berto. But he hasn't come out on top. I mean, if you look at his last 8 fights, he's 6 losses, and he's only got 2 wins, He did also fight Oscar De La Hoya, which was kind of a joke fight for everybody because Stevie Forbes had moved up in a weight. One guy that he did have a win over that, sticks out for me is Francisco Bajado. Remember him? I love that kid. And in 2007, he fought Steve Forbes and actually lost a very close decision. And I believe it was one of the last fights Bajado had. He decided to walk away from the sport. It was a kid that was rushed along too quickly, in my opinion. 334 rounds as a pro for Stevie Forbes at 24% knockout ratio. I don't know if I said it before, but he's 5'7.5". He's got a 68-inch reach. The thing that bothers me the most is his computer ranking. As a junior welterweight, he's ranked number 226. Now, he steps in with a pretty much of the anti-Steve Forbes at this point. Junior welterweight, Johan Perez. We got to give him credit as being a former champion, even though it was an interim championship. The reason why I'm giving him credit is because they call it a champion. They need to define the interim belt. Once a promoter or the fighter, whoever pays that sanctioning fee, it's technically fighting for a title. So I'm going to give him credit as being a former champ. He won an interim title when he beat Fernando Castaneda back in 2011, stopping him. But when he fought Pablo Cesar Cano, he couldn't continue after the 7th round. Or actually, it was a technical decision after the 7th round because of a cut, and he lost that one. And his record is 15-1 with that 1 loss and 1 draw, 12 knockouts. He's got more knockouts of his 17 fights than Stevie Forbes has. The computer ranks him at number 38. He's 5'11", and he's got a 65-inch, 65 knockouts. 65 rounds with a 67% knockout ratio. You know what? Stevie Forbes has become a gatekeeper, and I think he's going to continue keeping the gate. I'm going with Johan Perez in that one. Ronnie Rios against Rico Ramos is probably the toughest fight to pick this week. Ronnie Rios is 19 wins, no losses. He's got 9 knockouts. The computer says that he's number 50 in the world at featherweight. He's only 22 years old. He's 5'7", and he's got 93 rounds as a pro with a 47% knockout ratio. He's fought some okay guys. David Rodella, Guillermo, the Vampire Sanchez, Roger Gonzalez that Marty mentioned before. He also fought, I remember this fight, George Kevaleshvili, a guy that came out of nowhere. He's actually moved to the States since then. He's got wins over the normal guys that you build up your fighter with, like Adolfo Landeros. But like Marty said earlier, this is a guy that really, he hasn't gotten above that next level. Well, he's going to be tested when he steps in with Rico Ramos. Rico Ramos is a former world champion. He does have 1 loss. He's 21 wins and 1 loss, and that loss was a stoppage. It was a 6th-round knockout at the hands of Guillermo Rigondeaux back in January of last year. He's 5'5", and he's got a 67-inch reach. He's got 106 rounds as a pro with a 50% knockout ratio. When you look at this guy's record, he fought in his last fight. He won a 8-round majority decision over then undefeated Efrain Esquives. That fight took place in June of last year. I mentioned the first fight of 2012 for him was a knockout loss at the hands of no slouch in Guillermo Rigondeaux. But he did have a knockout win over Akumi Shimoda, which was an impressive win. That's when he won the belt. He's also got wins over Humberto Ruiz, Carthaginic Vargas, who I can never pronounce his name, Ronaldo Lopez, and fighters like him, Cecilio Santos, gatekeeper, tough fighters. Excuse me. I think he's more, at 25 years old. Now, I know that Ronnie Rios is 22, and a lot of times youth is where it's at. But when you're talking 22 and 25, especially when you look at the pedigree of Rico Ramos, I'm going with Rico Ramos in this fight. I'm picking Rico Ramos. And finally, the last fight I'm going to pick, which is the main event tonight on ESPN, Danny Williams is going up against John Molina. Danny Williams is 22 wins and 2 losses, 18 of his wins coming by knockout. He's ranked number 50 by the computer. He's 28 years old, 86 rounds as a pro with a 75% knockout ratio. His last 2 fights, win 1, lost 1. He lost to Hammer and Hank Lundy for his shot at the NABF title at Foxwoods. And in his last fight, he got a comeback and get a W fight against Ronell Griffin, who he stopped in 7th round. Now, he did have a couple of wins over decent fighters like Fernando Trejo, and he also had an impressive win over Harrison Coelho, who's a tough fighter. But again, if you throw everything out and you see that this guy's from St. Louis, Missouri, not that, bad fighters come from St. Louis, but, some of these fights in Missouri are against really questionable opposition. Now, he steps in with John Molina, former world title challenger. Many people love this guy and think that he's been robbed a couple of times. As a matter of fact, he's lost 2 fights. He's got a record of 24 wins, 19 losses, 2 losses, 1 by knockout, and that was in his very last fight when Antonio DeMarco just blew him away and stopped him in the first round. He's 5'10.5", 72-inch reach, 91 rounds as a pro with a 73% knockout ratio. He's ranked number 13 by the computer. John Molina, I do think he's right where he should be as far as being an ESPN fighter. I don't know if he's going to get to that next step and become anything more than that. Maybe he wins a title at some point. He's already 30 years old, and for a lightweight with 26 fights, how many more does he have? I can't see this guy fighting well into his 30s. He also looked a little old, man, if you saw any of the weigh-in photos. Now, we're going to have our very own Austin Killeen covering that fight ringside, and our very own Sony Thompson will be covering the fights in Florida, the Johan Perez fight. So we got a lot of coverage on all these fights that are happening this week. So we're glad that we're there for those fights. So in no particular order, I'm picking John Molina, by the way. In no particular order, I'm picking John Molina over Danny Williams, Randy Caballero, Luis Maldonado, I'm picking Rico Ramos over Ronnie Rios, Johan Perez over Stevie Forbes, Thomas Williams Jr. over Jason Smith, Adrian Hernandez over Dersu Cabraca, and Tony Averlant against Manur Tumai. So those are the fights that we're picking this week. Good luck to everybody that's in the challenge. And if you're not part of the challenge and you want to become part of the challenge, it's very simple. All you got to do is email me. That's it, man. Just email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and I'll add you to the list, and you'll automatically get the fights emailed to you every week, and you'll be eligible for prizes after 20 fights. You have to pick the rules. The 3 basic rules is you're eligible for prizes after 20 fights. You have to pick all the fights that are on the list, and you're only allowed to miss 3 within this whole season, 1 year. And then after that, your non-picks get factored in as zeros. Now, just so you understand, so that there's no problem, I know everybody understood. We did have one person that didn't get it, but everyone else understood that we round off to the nearest percentage. So we go by winning, the winning percentage. It's not the picks, it's the winning percentage wins for the month and the year end. We round off to the next highest percent. If there's a tie, the first tiebreaker goes to the amount of picks that you have. So it's a good idea to get involved with the challenge as early as possible. If it's tied after that, we have another series of tiebreakers that consists of a special fight that gets picked out just for the people that are tied. And there's a whole sequence of things. So if you want to get involved, please do so. It doesn't cost you anything. And you can win a prize every month and a grand prize at the end of the year, which I will be announcing what Blakely Berger got for winning the year-end prize. I'll be announcing that on Monday. I just got to get the size of shirts from him, which I'll get today. But now it's time for...
Wake up. It's time for the... It's too early for a trivia question.
Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia question is being brought to us by Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn, New York. That's right. Give them a call today, 718-797-2872. They got some amateur things going on this week. They got the press conferences next week. They got all kinds of stuff you can buy in there if you want, aside from memberships. And don't forget, Gleason's has locations now in Manhattan and in Jersey, I think. Was it Jersey? Yeah, I think, was it Manhattan and Jersey, I think they have. And the main location, which is in Brooklyn, New York. So give them a call today, 718-797-2872. Tell them Billy C sent you. Or if you want the modern way, visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click the Gleason's Gym banner. Our trivia question today, which is being provided by our trivia expert, Henry Haskop, is as follows. Who was the first world champion to manage a world champion? Who was the first world champion to manage a world champion? If you know that answer, email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. On this day, January 11th in 1980, Bazooka Lyman knocks out Delfonso Barthelemy in the 15th round to win the vacant WBC World Junior Lightweight title, and that took place on this day, January 11th in 1980, in Los Angeles, California. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. Make sure you watch all the fights this weekend. Have a great and safe weekend. Oh, yeah, I got one more thing to say. Make sure you tune in Monday morning, same bat time, same bat channel. There's only one channel. It's a Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider and tell them that you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and call for all information about the channel. You can find it on our website, www.fightnow.com. See you all Monday. Ciao, baby.